place to promote the growth of Tigres in English through analysis, discussions, interviews, and more. Welcome to the La U Times podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the La U Times podcast, a place where we talk about Tigres in English. And clearly, our man is out living his best life in Serbia, the home of our beloved, well, maybe not beloved yet, men's head coach. So he's, doing his thing, and I'm Dennis, filling in for him on hosting duties tonight. And I've got the crew back with me as always. So y'all help me out in welcoming the gang back here with me. We've got Mr. Lou down in Austin. How are you, my friend?
What's up, Dennis? Great to be back, man. Took some time off to be with family up in Iowa, but we're back, man.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're back. Like I told you a couple weeks ago, my condolences on what was going on, and it's great to have you back because we missed your insight. And excited to hear all your fun Mila takes today, as we usually do.
Here we go.
Down in Houston, filling in the void left by Arnoldo is Tigres Takes himself, Alfred. How are you, my friend?
Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm glad to be back. Glad to have Lou back as well.
Yes, aren't we all? And my boy, Edgar, in the DFW area with the fresh cut. How are you, my friend?
Doing good. Pleasure to be with you as always.
Yes, I'm not in DFW like you today. I'm currently sitting in my friend's basement in Nashville, Tennessee. I've been on a little post-birthday trip, a little treat-yourself trip, as I like to say, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. So this is my last night here, and what better way to spend your last night on a trip than talking about Tigres? Unofficially, tonight we are sponsored by Life Water, if I can turn the bottle right. 3 for $5 at Kroger. Don't ask questions. And also the breakfast place that I had this morning in Nashville called the Buttermilk Ranch, which was absolutely spectacular. But apparently I needed to get gravy with my biscuits, as Alfred says. So
you did, bro. You just gotta have a bunch of gravy on top of those biscuits.
Okay, I'll remember that for next time.
It's the Nashville way.
I'm gonna come
making
back.
me hungry, man.
Yeah. Oh man, I've eaten so good here. Oh my gosh. And I'm so full right now. Anyway, we're not here to talk about food, although it would be fun to talk about food. We're here to talk about our team. Everybody who's watching us right now, thanks for joining us. If you're watching later, thank you for tuning in. And if you're listening on the audio, thanks for joining us as well. If you're watching live right now, help us spread the word and retweet the video link on X or on Twitter if you're on Twitter right now. And if you're watching on YouTube, tell your friends about it, whatever that looks like for you. Okay, boys, let's talk about the last little bits of the transfer window. We'll talk about Sunday and how awesome that was here in a little bit. But let's talk about last-minute moves. Edgar, Mr. King of the Outline, could you lead us through this first part, my friend?
Absolutely, with pleasure. So, Tigres pulled off some big moves as the domestic transfer window came to a close last week. Quiñones, who submitted a last-minute transfer request, was able to find a new home in Liga MX and join Puebla on loan. While it was rumored that Tigres would use this opportunity to bring in a foreign winger to the roster, the club opted to sign Liga MX and Mexican national team winger Uriel Antuna from Cruz Azul. Maybe thanks to Arnoldo? And as of recording, Samir Caetano is still separated from the squad but has not found another club abroad.
Arnoldo, a.k.a. El Brujo, as he was called in one of our threads. So let's kick things off. Lou, let's start with you, my friend. Did we need another winger, considering the fact that we have Ociel, who's been rocking awesome, especially that game the other night, Marcelo, Sebastian, Lainez, even Chicha. We got to find minutes for him somehow with this, young player rule. Do we really need him?
I don't think we needed him, but it was a good move because we got rid of Luis Quiñones. So that, to me, the positive was that we were able to release Luis, or not release him, but at least get him to a team on loan. And we got that monkey off our back. And so good move on that part. I still feel like Lainez can give us some good attacking options on the right wing, even though his game against Pumas wasn't all that great. So, I think some folks would argue with me. Some folks, probably Arnoldo, would say, no, we needed Antuna because, Lainez is just not getting it done on that right wing. So, to me, the move overall was good, though, because of Luis Quiñones. Being able to offload him, I think, is essential moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately the big reason, right? Like getting to offload him, even if it was a loan move. I mean, it's not ideal, but he's not on the roster anymore. And you're replacing him kind of, I guess, like for like, because Antuna, as we know from the national team, is also very frustrating, right? Like, just has been, producing some games and a lot of times has some really frustrating games. Sends some
But
really
not taking up a foreign spot, which is also a positive.
right, and much younger too. But the thing is, he's good in the league, and that's the main difference between him and Q the last few years is that Q really hasn't been good anytime, really, and at least Antuna has had a good last couple of seasons with Cruz Azul, so it's kind of justifiable in that way. Alfred, I know you have a lot of thoughts on this, based on what you've been tweeting out on the account and through the thread. How do you feel about this whole thing?
Well, in the beginning, it was a bit surprising. I mean, I think like everyone, or the majority of the fan base, we kind of had our negative opinions towards Antuna. From seeing him at Selección, he doesn't really convince many of us. So it kind of felt like it was an unnecessary move. But like Lou said, you're trading one for the other. You're trading Quiñones for Antuna. Antuna is younger. You could argue that you're basically going back in time and you're bringing a younger Quiñones. You could argue that, and he's Mexican, so he doesn't occupy that foreign spot and allows us to be able to potentially bring someone else in place of Samir if that does happen. If not, in the next transfer window, that spot opens up. So ultimately, I'm okay with it. It did spark some controversy, but I'm okay with it. He looked good in the shirt. We got to give him benefit of the doubt. Hopefully, some of those attitude issues that he might have, might get fixed in our locker room. With Pizarro, with Nahuel, with Gignac behind him. Maybe some of the good things will rub off on him, and hopefully we can get the best out of him.
Yeah, let me stay with you because this next question that Edgar put in the outline is really good, and it's something that you kind of already talked about a little bit in the group thread about how Antuna in the press conference that he gave when he got introduced, saying that his style is similar to our beloved Damian Alvarez. What are your thoughts on that, Alfred? And how does that influence, I guess, your expectations? And then Edgar, I want you to bounce off of that as well.
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody agrees that he looks like Damian Alvarez or his style is similar. I mean, you could say that he's the type that's going to try to challenge the defenders and dribble past them, but I wouldn't say he's as talented. So that being said, he kind of shot himself in the foot by raising our expectations of him, because I mean our expectations weren't high, but he kind of said, hey, you guys can compare me to Damian Alvarez. Dude, if we do that, you're gonna end up disappointing us. So I mean, in the end, he was probably trying to get on the fan base's good side, by mentioning one of our idols, but it really came out it was funny to me ultimately.
Yeah, Edgar, your thoughts?
So it's an extremely bold statement that was in no way, shape, or form necessary from him. Maybe he was trying to talk himself up, or like Alfred mentioned, try to appease the fan base by comparing himself to a club legend, but that was just ridiculous. The bar was already extremely low. All you had to do was come in and be better than Luis Quinones. That's it. That's all we expected. Which, if you compare the numbers and if you just look at both of them, he already is. But now it's a whole different story if he wants to, speak in front of everybody and say that he is similar or has a style like Damian Alvarez. That's
As Ron Burgundy in Anchorman says, we are laughing. I mean, I did not know the man had jokes, bro. I mean, but you do get a good laugh out of it. I mean, he's a comedian. It's just, it's laughable. I mean, it's all you can say, right? I mean, what else can you see? All you can do is laugh. I mean, it's just funny. That's all it is. It's cute. It's cute. Cute and funny.
You
That's
can't
all
take
it is.
him seriously.
Yeah, I agree. Edgar, let me stick with you. This is not a question that you had on the outline, but I just thought of it. Thinking back to Sunday's game, especially with how Osiel played. As we know, Osiel had 2 goals, and he was awesome. And we've been debating the last few weeks, talking about it on the last few episodes about, do we even know who the right, winger combination is? Does Pauno even know? So I guess in relation to what we saw on Sunday, kind of jumping a little bit ahead, how far down the pecking order do you think Antuna is right now relative to the whole group of wingers? Because I feel like he's down towards the bottom.
No, I agree. I definitely think that he's, regardless of what he said or what he's accomplished in Liga MX, he's not very far up. We saw that Lainez got the start rather than him, Osiel as well, making the starting lineup. Marcelo was doing pretty well, in my humble opinion. So he's got a lot of competition. And I don't necessarily think it'll be easy for him, especially when the person that you're replacing is someone who essentially was already erased from the roster. So you really, truly, and honestly are at the bottom of the barrel.
Lou, Alfred, do y'all differ in that, or do y'all side with Edgar?
Probably third stringer, in my opinion. Third string. He might move up though. He might. It seems to me that Pauno doesn't favor Lainez. I get that feeling that Lainez he's not looked well upon by Pauno, so that could shoot him up to second string. I think Pauno is going to be a little more inclined to maybe run Cordova on that right side at times. So third stringer at the moment, I would say.
I'm going to reference back to what Arnoldo was talking about last week when he brought up Antuna himself. All of our wingers as of late have kind of, ended up not being convincing enough for, to earn a starting lineup or to be consistent enough to stay in a starting position for multiple games. So I think he comes in to compete. Ultimately, I don't think that he's at a higher level than any of these guys. I wouldn't necessarily place him below any of these guys either, because, like I said, all of them have had sparks. All of them have had good moments in season, or have given us good performances, but not sufficient enough for us to say that, hey, this guy and this guy are the 1 and 2 guy, and then Antuna and this other guy are going to fall behind. We can't necessarily argue that. And now that we have Lainez and Marcelo that are called up to a 3, Antuna kind of has an opportunity to show himself in practice, because it's just going to be him and Lainez, maybe Cordova, for that winger position. So
Yeah, that makes sense. Question for the group and for anybody out there watching live right now. We want to hear your answer to this question in the comments, so let us know. On a scale of 1 to 5, how would we all rate this transfer window as a whole now that it's pretty much over? I don't care who goes first. Somebody get us going.
I'm going to go 3. Tapia was good. We got El Profe Ortega. I don't consider him a signing, but we got El Profe Ortega, and I thought that was a good move. I think Joaquim is going to improve as the season goes along, and I think he's going to be a beast in the air. So for corner kicks and then also defending crosses, he's going to be a monster. One-on-one defending, he's a beast as well. So that's going to end up being a decent signing, I think. And And then Antuna, I think, like Alfred said, he's going to compete, so he's going to add depth to our squad, which is also excellent. I didn't care for the Cruz Azul signing, the kid from Cruz Azul. I don't think he adds anything to our roster. He's probably going to be another Tercero or Purata, but I think 3 out of 5 is decent.
Osvaldo Rodriguez too.
Oh, El Osby, yeah, Osby. I think he's going to have a shot at times too.
I rated a 4, and just based off, considering where we were at a couple months ago with the whole Siboldi debacle and the Sancho debacle, it seemed like we were going to have a nightmare of a transfer window, and it ended up being quite good, or at least most of the positions that we wanted to be covered, they pretty much addressed them. So I'm happy. I'm okay with this transfer window.
Yeah, for me, it's a 3.5 out of 5. As Alfred mentioned, I mean, there was right before the start of the season, we had nothing. We had absolutely nothing. There was no plan, no direction. Luckily, the board came together and did bring us some good signings. I think Antuna, in my humble opinion, wasn't a necessary signing, but he is here to compete. He is one of the better players in the league. He's Mexican. He doesn't take up a foreign player spot. I think that was overall not a bad signing. Joaquin was good. He's promising. I don't think he's going to be the next all-star, but he definitely has potential to be a very strong player in the back line.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go 3.5 as well. What we brought in was good. I don't think any of us really thought that Tapia was going to be as good as he has been, and he's been really a revelation in a lot of ways. And so I think a lot of this 3.5 for me comes because of him. Even if he was like a little bit average, I think I might drop it to a 3. But I think he's been so good that he carries a lot of this window. I'm with y'all about Joaquin. I did like his game on Sunday. I was, fairly impressed with him. And for the most part, he's done his job despite barely knowing the system, despite barely being here. The problem that I have is the outgoings, like not figuring out the Samir situation still is kind of annoying. Barely figuring out the Quiñones situation was annoying, but also part of that's on him. Not figuring out, Ortega, like getting him out, like he's still technically on the roster. Like that's just like annoying, right? Like we already have like so many keepers now with Felipe and with Tapia. Now that Nahuel is back, it's like Ortega is literally just collecting paychecks. We could have figured something else out for him. And also, I wish we could have got another midfielder, but I know that that's coming in the future. So I'm just being a little too picky in that regard. But that's how I feel.
We want to thank Gerardo Torrado for this.
Not really. Because, like, really, what did he bring in of all these? Antuna
and the other, I still credit him for the other Cruz Azul player, the free agent that we got. Okay. But again, he's not necessarily going to be, for me, he's more the U23 player. I don't think he's even been called up to the bench yet. And I know that there was a discussion of, we signed him for those youth player minutes, but honestly, I don't think that's the case. I think we're going to get all of our minutes out of Marcelo, Ociel. Tapia, I believe, has been contributing to those minutes. Yeah, and Pita, to me, is still going to be the strength there at some point this season.
Yeah, absolutely.
He sold Quiñones.
Yeah, kind of.
Did he throw in the towel?
Hey, better than nothing. I still think he should have done my master plan. He should have listened to me with my Saudi Arabia plan. I'm telling you, just go send him with his brother, and we would have gotten like 10 million out of it because they just like to throw money around. No shot.
Do you guys think Quiñones is gonna come back in October and score a goal on us?
Bro, if he does any sort of Ley de X thing, I will throw something at my TV. I'm dead serious. I do not want to see that.
Watch him become Pelé against us.
Yeah,
bro.
For real.
Oh my gosh. Shout out our friend
Angulo.
Seriously, yeah, as if he hasn't been torched enough this season. Shout out our friend Albert Matthews, who's watching along, who says 2.5 out of 5, saying Antuna saved us. Besides him, this could be the transfer window of Juarez easily. Can't be excited. Okay. All right. Like I can understand why you would say that. I
Tough
don't necessarily
audience.
agree, but man, yeah, I can kind of get why. And again, a lot of it came so late that it's also understandable to have it lower than any other
You know what
normal.
else is disappointing? When just recently, I guess we figured out or found out that Tapia isn't actually ours. Like we didn't actually buy him. He's just on loan.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's kind of
yeah.
sucks.
Gonna have to figure him out. Oh, our boy Peter is on as well, saying that's an insult to Joaquin though. I
What
kind of,
is? What's an insult? I
I
didn't get
guess
it.
the 2.5,
Oh,
if I had to guess.
I mean, possibly, but let's hold on for a second. He was playing in second division in Brazil because his team got relegated, and as far as I'm aware, no one really knew him. He's not a strong name.
Oh, here we go. Well, Albert's got the. See, there you go. Kind of feeding into that, saying he played 31 games when they got relegated, receiving 64 goals. Saw him insecure and in 1v1. He thinks Samir is better, but he's having too much. I don't know what that.
tacos.
Tacos. Too much tacos.
That's fair.
Which Samir has been getting in shape lately. He's been putting up some photos on his social media, and he's got a new 6-pack now. So I think he's starting to step his game up. Hopefully.
Yeah, and
And
he's
it looks like he's going to stay, so they're going to compete.
yeah, and he's like posting pictures of him wearing Tigres gear again. For like 2 weeks, he was just like, posting, hotel selfies and elevator selfies and pictures of him in New York without any like team branding. So maybe he is gonna say. I have no idea. But yeah, shout out Profe Ortega. That alone in itself is a big dub,
Yeah.
for sure. Can't argue that. Once again, shout out everybody watching. We're up to 81 people right now, which is super great. Speaking of Samir, I guess we kind of already been talking about it, but do y'all think he deserves a second chance now that Quinones is gone? We technically have another foreign spot. What do y'all
Why
feel?
not? Why not give him a shot? I just feel like if we get any injuries, he might be pivotal, and we got nothing to lose by having him there. Somebody was mentioning playing him at the central defending mid position. Wouldn't be a bad thing to try out.
He has experience there, apparently. I don't know if I doubt that was at Watford. So I think if he did do that, that was probably when he was in Italy with Udinese. But I've never seen him actually do it, so I don't know.
It's worth a gamble, I think, just having him on the roster and seeing what he can deliver.
Yeah, we haven't seen him under Paunovic either. Like the last time we saw him was way back in the Siboldi era. And it wasn't even like towards the end. Like he had already kind of been phased out towards, the end of the Liguilla run. By the way, did y'all see the bit that Siboldi might go coach Leon?
I saw that.
That's really interesting. I don't know if that would go well, but who knows? Thoughts on Samir, Fred, and Edgar?
It's very difficult to reincorporate a player that you're already exiled, but I don't see him going anywhere. And I'm also not necessarily a fan of, because he is one of the better paid players on the roster, just throwing checks at him to go hang out with the U23s and, I don't know, drink margaritas in the stands and chicharrón from La Ramos. It's difficult, but I mean, if he does genuinely look like he's getting into shape, he looks like he cares. Like you mentioned, Dennis, he's wearing the team attire again. So why not? Why not give him 6 months and see if he wants to stay?
Dang, now you're making me hungry again talking about chicharrón with the chicharrones at the stadium that they sell, like out of Volcan. Have y'all had those recently? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're bomb.
It's been a year, but they're very, very good.
Oh, so good. Sorry. Anyway, Alfred, talk about Samir, not food, not chicharrones.
Well, I mean, it's you guys already said everything that needed to be said. I guess it's a must. If we don't find a team for him, he must be registered. I read something that it'll be illegal to not register him. He has to be registered. So I think the deadline is September 14th. That other countries, not sure if it's Argentina or what other country is left, that their transfer window ends on September 14th. So if we don't find a team for him, which it more than likely we won't, then we just gotta hope for the best. Give him a chance to to make us fall in love with him again. Hopefully, if he shows up in practice and earns a spot in any single game, he might surprise us. I was also seeing some people that were theorizing, hey, we keep Samir. You can play Samir. You can play Joaquin in the back line. Bring up Pizarro back up top to with Carioca in the midfield.
And have him deeper so that way Carioca and Gorriarán can play more up. I don't hate that. I don't
Yes.
hate that. As long as Carioca and Pizarro are not like playing on the same line, if Rafa's a little bit more like as an 8 playing more forward, I wouldn't hate that. That's not the formation we've been running though, because that would take away having a natural number 10 between Bruneta and Cordova, depending on the game. But I don't know. I don't hate that.
We haven't had much of a number 10 lately, so
That's true. That's true. He's been kind of tough. Yeah, the only other places that I can think of that he could get transferred to that's not, Argentina. I think the Saudi window is still open, but that's probably going to close like any day now. I know that they have a little bit of a gap, and Turkey's window is also open right now because they just randomly got or Galatasaray just randomly got Victor Osimhen after the Premier League deadline was over. So I doubt he goes there. Like, no shot he goes to any of those places. So I guess we're gonna have to deal with him. Last thing about transfers. Rumor came out yesterday. I can't remember the source, but Marcelo Flores, our beloved Golden Boy, there was interest from him abroad from newly promoted in the Premier League Ipswich, where he was first discovered. Thoughts on that? Because I think that's really interesting. Lou?
Well, for one, it tells me that there's interest from across the pond, which is, I think, a natural thing, right? The kid's got talent. I think he's got a lot of potential. So I think there's definitely teams looking at him, and I don't see it as a non-possibility that one day he might be back over there again with the way he's playing. I think it's still too early for him. I think he still needs to develop. He's still got some things he needs to improve on, but I think we'll start to see more of that as his career progresses at Tigres, where there's going to be interest, and eventually we're probably going to have to let him go and play abroad. But I'm pretty sure we also got lowballed by Ipswich on that, and it wasn't worth our time to even discuss it with him or anything. But I think it's something we need to start getting used to, seeing offers come from abroad.
Yeah, and the thing is that they spent a ton of money, so they probably didn't have much money left to offer Ipswich did, because they are really trying to stay up. My thing about that is that I don't think it would have been a good fit, at least like where they currently are, because the way that they're going to have to play this year is so defensive. Like, they're going to be one of the bottom feeders in the Premier League and, a pretty prime candidate to get relegated and just go straight back down. And part of the reason why he's been thriving with us is because, we're a possession-based team. We average most games like over 50%. He's never going to get that at Ipswich right now unless they're playing Leicester or Bournemouth. Like, you think they're going to average 50% possession against Manchester City? Absolutely not.
No,
So
chance.
it just wouldn't suit his style of play, honestly. Like, he would only be able to shine in transition moments. And I like their coach. I think his coach or their coach would be like really good for him. But just with the year that they're in, unless they can stay up and kind of, be able to hold more possession, I just don't think it's worth it. Even though it would be cool to see him, play abroad in a team like that. Alfred, what do you want to add to that? And then Edgar as well.
Well, I think they probably, like Lou said, they probably lowballed. They probably thought they had a one-up because they had discovered Marcelo, so they kind of had the relationship. Maybe contacted the father and say, "Hey, do you think we can give it a shot?" But yeah, like Lou said, offers will come. I don't think we need to be in a rush to sell Marcelo. We bought him at a really low price, so when the time comes and a really good offer comes in, we make bank. I think the kid has future. He's very young. So it'll be very good for him. We'd be very proud to sell Marcelo to Europe again. Maybe get some of those Televisa and some of those reporters down in Mexico that are always on our backs about us bringing players from Europe. Maybe we can get them happy again because we send someone over there. But I mean, in reality, I don't think that there's any real potential for him to leave right now. Like Lou said, he still needs to consolidate himself within Tigres, earn his starting position, his starting lineup, give us some great performances. I think we can still have Marcelo give us a lot. So,
Edgar, your thoughts?
I think for sure he needs to stay at Tigres at least one more year to really get his foot in and get that development that he's lacking in a few areas, and definitely take advantage of a lot of the senior players that are on our roster. But I do think that he is going to continue to attract offers and interest from abroad. Hopefully, and this is just my humble opinion, he goes to a league where he will be getting regular minutes, and that will actually be able to develop him to be an extremely competitive player in Premier League. I would rather have him in the Netherlands or in Serie A, which not a lot of Mexican players go to Serie A, but I think he would really thrive there.
I agree. The Dutch league would be great because they're so good at developing, and they usually can, develop good wingers specifically. And yeah, Serie A, like prime for that as well. So I'm with you there.
I have a question for you guys to piggyback off of this news from Marcelo. Besides Samir, if we got an offer for any one player on the team right now that you would accept, who would it be for?
That's a good question.
Like, who would you be willing to let go?
Are we going for the hanging fruit here?
No, I'm not talking low-hanging fruit. Talking
You mean out of
Bruneta,
the starters?
Nico.
I would take an offer for Bruneta right now. Right now, Bruneta, if it's a decent offer, I would say green light. Let's go.
We had one from River though.
Did we?
Apagos, bro. Like they wanted the Klarna payments, bro. Yeah, bro. Like 10 easy payments of $100.
Yeah, offer in quotation marks. I'll give you a different answer. Correran.
Really?
Yeah.
No,
I would take an offer from him. It'd have to be the right one because he has hard to replace.
You can argue that he's been our best player this season, bro.
Yeah.
Corey has been so solid, bro.
Yeah.
I would not let that cat go right now.
Given the fact that we don't have as much depth in the midfield, I would be a little bit more hesitant to let him go, Carioca go. Cordova for me is a non-negotiable this window.
Sure.
Bruneta, I would entertain that.
Okay. Angulo too. I would throw Angulo on that as well.
Well, now that we got Osby, it's definitely an option.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say one just to get Lou angry, Nico.
Oh God!
If we get an offer for Nico,
and if Gignac gets hurt, are you playing with Ozzy? If Gignac gets hurt,
that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. Have him play as a 10 or a 9.
Antunes listed as a forward, bro.
No, but you have him in a false 9. That would be horrible.
Who, Antuna at the 9? Oh my God.
Okay, so we've got some opinions here as well. What is he saying?
Well, Albert said check the stats. I'll share some stats here in a minute. I'll share some stats here in a minute with Albert once we get into the Pumas game.
Okay, Peter saying
an interesting in-game stat.
Okay. Albert also saying let Nico go as well. There we go with the
Here
Nico.
I'm gonna start nerd raging live.
That was a spicy question. Everyone participated.
I love it. Okay, well, let's get going about Sunday. There's a lot to talk about Sunday. 2 great games. Well, I guess one great game, one really frustrating game that turned out into a great result. Let me clarify that with Feminine. But let's start on the men's side. Edgar, give us the recap.
Alrighty, so Los Incomparables spent the weekend in the capital as they visited Pumas at the Olímpico Universitario for match day number 6. Pumas initially took the lead in the 15th minute with a goal from Rogelio Funes Mori, assisted by Cesar Huerta. However, Tigres didn't keep their arms crossed and quickly responded with a penalty scored by Osiel Herrera in the 37th minute. followed by an absolute golazo from Nando Gorriarán just 2 minutes later, putting Tigres ahead 2-1 by halftime. In the second half, Tigres extended their lead with Herrera, who scored the second goal of the match in the 59th minute, assisted by Joaquim. And despite several substitutions and efforts from Pumas, they were unable to recover, and the match ended with a 3-1 victory for Tigres.
Okay, I want to stay with you, E. Tell me your biggest takeaway about that result, going into a place that we did not play well at last season. Because last August when we went to Pumas, we were really bad. To get a result, to get 3 points, to stay at the top of the pack or close to the top of the pack, table-wise. Yeah, biggest takeaway from Sunday. Ready to go.
So I think the biggest takeaway for us was being able to get that result on the road. As you just mentioned, we typically tend to struggle a little bit more when we travel to them, and also just, the conditions of playing in the capital with the elevation. Usually the matches are held at noon, peak sunlight, horrendous conditions. Maybe it was a little bit easier that this was an afternoon match, but just being able to secure the 3 points was the biggest takeaway.
Okay, Alfred, we saw Paunovic not go back to the 99. Praise God Almighty. Okay, I know we were all happy about that.
Not Lou.
Thoughts on the gameplay, about the improvements there, because it definitely improved from one game to the next between the Chivas game last week and that, because just the formation was more natural. It's one that we're more familiar with and one that's more effective.
So I had a personal event and I did not watch the game, but I have been able to catch some of the highlights. And ultimately, I mean, we all wanted that change. I mean, we saw how it hadn't worked, and like we discussed in last week's pod, I mean, Paunovic, I guess, just had to try it himself, had to see for himself that it wasn't something that was going to work. So we went back to having Bruneta in this case, fill that position of a number 10. And although maybe he his name is not part of our highlights or our recap, I think in the end it helps to have players in the right position. When you have Gignac and you have Nico, we talked about it. They overlap. They step in each other's feet. They get in their way, and it's not beneficial for the team. So despite the bad beginning, how they had, I don't know, 20 some minutes, 30 minutes it was just a bad game. They started linking up, and ultimately, we just had a game where, some players just showed up. Gorriarán, like we just discussed, is probably having the best season since he's been at Tigres. And Ociel as well. I mean, Ociel is the type of guy that, he gets an opportunity and he's going to make it. He's going to get that ball in, and he's got a magnet with the goal. So I think that if we have lineups like this where, it doesn't matter if he makes rotations, where he brings in a different player depending on who he sees is doing better things. But as long as he has the right formation, where everybody's playing in the right position, we have a better chance at winning, and that's what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Lou, you were just mentioning a little bit earlier about Bruneta. So he comes back into the starting 11. I think it's fair to say it wasn't amazing by any means. Tell me about him, his performance, his stats on Sunday, and just kind of how frustrating it's been to see him play the last few times he's been on the field.
Yeah, I agree with Albert. He's extremely talented. He is probably talent-wise, he's up there, with Gignac and those guys. He's tremendous talent, but he's not delivering. I'll share one stat with you guys just to kind of get a view of how disappointing he's been. He played 64 minutes. He had 36 touches and only 3 passes into the final third. So an attacking mid that only makes 3 passes into the final third is giving you absolutely nothing in a game, because literally your job is to make passes into the final third into your strikers. So it just tells you how flat he's been. He's just been extremely flat. And it's not a talent issue because we know he's talented. So the only other thing that I can think of is it's a mental issue. There's something going on in his head. Emotionally, there's something going on that's preventing him from giving us his full potential. And to be honest with you, that game was a bad game. It was a great result, but a bad game. You look at the goals. First goal was a penalty kick by Aussie, right? Which you could argue that it was a foul, obviously, but you could argue that it was unnecessary foul in the box. In other words, the defender could have not fouled Gorri, and it probably wouldn't have led to a goal. The second goal was a golazo that honestly, like, it's just out of that world. He hit it what from 29 yards out. So I mean, it's an
Goal of the season.
From
extremely
another
tough
game.
shot. Yeah, extremely tough shot. And then the last one was on a set piece. As a corner kick, Joaquim won the header into the box, and then we scored. So there wasn't a lot of buildup. There wasn't a lot of possession where you're seeing us attacking in a very systematic way. And you could argue in our favor that perhaps the second half was ruined by the heavy rain, right? It's a downpour, so you can't dribble the ball well, you can't really build up, and so I'll give us the benefit of the doubt. But to be honest with you, we did not look very well for a good amount of that game. You could argue a good 75 minutes. We didn't look that great. And so a lot of it is due to guys like Brunetta not pulling their load. Lainez was flat too. He didn't look great.
I agree.
And so our best players were in the midfield, so Gorriarán and Carioca, and then our defenders that played, pretty decent. Nothing extremely stellar. I think numbers wise, probably Angulo had the best numbers, but a lot of the work was kind of in the midfield. Carioca and Gorriarán kind of running things, but our attacking side wasn't doing that great, and so that's why you saw Gignac struggle because he wasn't getting any balls. I mean, nobody was feeding him, and
Yeah.
it shows, right? The numbers show Brunetta only 3 passes into the final third. So there's a lot to fix. Great result because we were playing in Mexico City, in Seoul, which is a really tough place to play. But I think if we really look at the game, there's a ton that we need to fix.
The thing that really, I guess, bothered me about Brunetta the other night was just the body language was just not right from minute one. Like immediately, just you could just tell through the TV screen that he wasn't really that interested in what was going on, or maybe like kind of interested. I don't know. Like you just can't do that. Like you can't play Tigres and not be invested in what's going on the field. Like that's not perfil
Yeah.
Tigres. That's not what we're about. So that was really annoying. I like what you said about Lainez too. I think he was fine, like defensively, I guess, but like offensively, I felt like he wasn't taking risks. Truthfully, um,
He lost that chemistry that he
yeah,
had with Aquino, I feel like.
yeah. It's gonna take a little bit for that to like ramp back up. You know what I mean? Just because he's been out for so long with injury that it takes time. And in a new system, in another new system, with Bonovich being in there, it's a little bit different. Okay, question for the group. Actually, hold on. I gotta look at this comment from Peter saying, "I wonder what happened from Leagues Cup to now with Brunetta." I mean that is the question, right? Like, obviously, he had that wonderful goal against Miami, had a pretty solid, run besides that. I mean, obviously not the New York game, but who had a good game in New York? Really, nobody really did. I guess Carioca technically, but even then, he didn't even have a good game. So yeah, something had to have happened, and we just don't know. And that's why all these like, little rumors of like family problems and wanting to go back to Argentina have been coming out. Like, there's something in the water, but I guess we just don't know, or maybe there's nothing, and he's just not playing well and just in a slump. Who knows? I don't think we'll know that for a little bit, at least right now. Okay, question for the whole group: the penalty that Osiel took instead of Gignac. Why did that not become Gignac's kick? Was it his decision? Did you like that happened? Did you not like that it happened? Thoughts?
I think Alfred has the best theory, so I'm gonna defer to Alfred on that one.
Yeah, no, I just think that Gignac is all about throwing shade at Rayados, man. Any opportunity he has, sticking it to them, he takes it. Dating way back to when he first came. You know, this is a guy that came from France, did not know anything about our league, did not know anything about our team. He was lied to about our team being close to Cancun or whatever. So, I mean, you would expect that he would have not known the history of Tigres and Rayados. Yet, when Clásico time came, he was able to, pretty much clap back at Rayados with some old time, celebrations that Rayados players used to do against us, and he was able to, hit them back with them. So he's very good at that. I think he saw what happened in the Rayados game with Canales and Superman. How they argued about the penalty kick, and I think he saw the opportunity and took it. He's like, you know what, I'm gonna show them how it's done.
Yeah.
Let us see him take it.
So wild. Edgar, any thoughts on the penalty thing?
I mean, I was definitely surprised by it just because, Gignac's the official penalty kicker when he's on the pitch. And Pumas is his baby. If I'm not mistaken, the team he scored on the most.
Yep.
It's always expected that you get a Gignac goal when we go up against Pumas. So that was surprising to me, but I'm so glad that this opportunity really gave Osiel a lot of confidence that he'd been lacking in previous matches, and hopefully it's only uphill from here.
The only negative, Dennis, I thought was just not padding up his numbers. That was the only negative. But like I'm with Alfred, I think it showed what true leadership is, right? You let somebody else take it and show them, hey, we all share. We're a team. I think it just showed how much of a leader he is.
Yeah, and especially after what happened in the Chivas game last week with how rough of a kick he had on that penalty that honestly maybe wasn't even a penalty, so it evened out. But to see him be so selfless like that and to give Osi a chance and ended up kind of contributing into Osi having a really great game just all around with that second goal and all that, like giving him the confidence that he needs, like you just mentioned. I think it's great.
Let me ask you, didn't we see this before? Didn't Gignac let Nico take a penalty kick once before when like Nico was having like was struggling, was not getting goals, and I think they were both in the field one time, and he let Nico take the penalty kick.
Nico, you mean Nico Diente Lopez or Nico Ibanez?
No, Nico Ibanez.
I don't know. I do remember it with Nico Diente Lopez because he was trying to get him to win the
Yeah, he did that too.
So right. He gave him one, and it's possible that he did do that for Nico Ibanez too. It's just not as fresh in my head.
When I've seen Ibanez take pens in game, it's been when Gignac hasn't played or has been on the bench, if I remember correctly.
But I think I remember one where Nico Ibanez took the penalty kick, scored, and celebrated with Gignac. So they were both in the field.
Okay. Huh. Yeah, I'm trying.
I'm gonna have to look for it.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head what game that was. Well, the pod just got better because our beloved friend has arrived.
Oh, David.
Hola, hola, mi gente, he says. And here's his commentary on the point that we just made, saying, I believe that Gignac is just trying to motivate the team to be ready for what's to come. So, good point. Okay, here's a random thing. Shout out Javier, who's watching. Looking into the future, okay, who would you guys bring to substitute Carioca?
De Osa.
Yeah, that guy looks solid.
Agreed. Edgar, do you agree?
From Liga MX, absolutely. That would be my first choice. I would kind of want to see someone from abroad, but I don't have any specific names that come to mind.
Yeah, especially now that Guido's out of the picture, now that he's at West Ham. Reuniting that partnership that he had with with Edson at America West Ham. How strange is that? Javier also saying consider all options from Brazil, Mexico, or Europe. Yeah. I would love somebody abroad personally.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Um,
from a European would be fantastic.
yeah, man. I mean, I don't know who, because a
Has
lot of
been
this.
thrust out of retirement.
I mean, I'm down, but Real Madrid could really use them with how weird they've been playing. Um, yeah, I don't know. That we'll have to do some research. But again, that's a future Tigres problem. Um, any other thoughts about uh Sunday that we want to add? I feel like we've covered mostly everything. I mean, the
Yeah, as far as like the Antuna and the Osby sub-ins, I think
yeah.
the game was
Sorry.
almost it was garbage time. I feel like there's not a lot there for us to be able to say, hey, yeah, he looks great or he looks terrible. So to me, the jury's still out on those two as far as what contributions they're gonna make in the following games. But I think decently talented or moderately talented players that will add some depth to our squad.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else from you, Edgar, Alfred?
Well, I like that last question that Edgar put on the outline, because we have the FIFA break,
Right. Yeah.
and we just discussed how it wasn't really that great of a game. It was more individualities came out, right? Brunetta is still in a slump that we don't know where it's coming from. So I think that Paunovic. So just to read the question to people that are listening, what does Paunovic need to work on during the FIFA window? I think that he needs to work on the mentality of a couple of his pieces with Linus, with Brunetta. Get them to where we need them to be for this last stretch of the season, right? And then also ultimately, Paunovic needs to find his game. We really haven't seen the Paunovic style, in Tigres. It's most of the games have been, won because of a product of individualities, our great talent that we have, Carioca, just pretty much holding up the team. So yeah, we need to see his work through this window.
I think the big thing during this window will be, just the reintegration of Nahuel. Tapia, I think, got called up, right, to the
U23.
U23 team, so he won't even be around. And obviously, Nahuel is going to be back, eligible to play again after we come back from this break anyway. So I know that we've already had games with him in Leagues Cup, but we knew that was temporary. Now that he's fully back in the fray, like, work on, whatever needs to get worked on with him, because obviously we know that his distribution with his feet is important, because he does really good with long balls and helps with the build up at times, and so hopefully that
I
can get
think it'll be
refined.
more Joaquin trying to learn from Nahuel.
Right? Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like that partnership has to be spot on, because Samir and Nahuel, it was okay at times, but obviously, as Samir kind of faded, so did that, partnership in some way. So Joaquim needs to get up to speed, because that's going to be an important part of of our phases of play and of build up and all that. So, um, any other thoughts on what could be worked on during the break?
I have a question for you guys that watched the game. So last week, as well as the last Leagues Cup game, we had seen Joaquin come in as a right center back, and we know that in his career he has been a right center back. But apparently, this game he played as a left center back. How did that look?
He actually looked all right. I was actually looking at that too, Alfred. I specifically kind of made a point to look because I did notice that he has shifted, and I don't see any difference him playing right back or left back. I think he's going to be equally well at both sides. That was a concern of mine because I was like, well, how's he going to do? Seems like Pizarro's less flexible in that end, but he was solid. I didn't see any major issues with him playing on the left.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Um, on the goal that we gave up, it wasn't really like of his own doing. Like I guess he technically got beat, or like he was trying to chase down whoever it was. Was it Huerta or was it somebody else that was, driving before Funes Mori scored? I can't remember, but
I thought that was Angulo after Huerta.
yeah, okay, yeah, no, you're right. But he was like in the frame as well,
Right.
and so his speed.
Yeah, it was an odd play, right? Because we missed a
Yeah.
pass. I think who was it, Aquino, that missed the pass, and then
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind of a like honestly, it's one of those that I don't really fault the defense all that much. It wasn't like egregious or anything. Like it's something we could definitely clean up.
yeah. And Tapia did all he could trying to save it, and it just like took an unfortunate bounce. Obviously. Here's a comment from our friend. Where is he? From Mark. Which is really interesting. Angulo has got a lot of criticism, but he's the best rated player of the season on FotMob, which tells you a lot about FotMob because as much as they're good at times, clearly they don't sometimes watch as well as they should because I mean some of the mistakes that he's made that have directly contributed to goals, like they don't justify the high ratings that he's gotten. So I don't know. Like, yes, that's fine, I guess, but clearly something's not right there with how they put out those ratings and stuff.
His stats were great for
Yeah.
this Pumas game.
Yeah.
Because he won so many duels. I think he was first
Yeah.
in duels won. He had 1 assist. So, I think you hit it right on the head, Dennis. I mean, when he's on, he's such a solid defender, but there's just these moments in time where he makes these really dumb moves, like knucklehead defending moves that just really frustrating. And I think he tends to get beat by speedy wingers, which I think is my biggest issue with him, which is something you really can't fix because he's kind of a little stocky. I don't want to say
Yeah.
he's overweight because he's not. But I think his build is sort of a stocky person, right? So he doesn't have the speed to be able to keep up with some of the wingers. And I think that's ultimately why he gets beat. Not so much because he lacks technical ability, but it's just he's getting players tend to fly by him at times.
He has the build of a center back.
Yeah.
But just doesn't have, I guess, the height of one, He looks smaller compared to some other ones. But yeah, I agree. I totally get what you're saying.
And I think it's something we've discussed here endlessly is him being great as a left stopper in a 3 center back line. But it's something that only I dream about.
No, I dream about it too.
Before falling asleep at night.
It's okay. That makes 2 of us. Okay, before we move on, just a reminder about our games coming up the rest of the month. So after FIFA break, we have a Friday night home game. Shout out TV Azteca against San Luis. These next 4 games are manageable. Okay, I say that while I'm knocking on wood. Querétaro away the following Tuesday, the following Sunday away to Juarez, and then another Friday night home game against the León team that has frankly been pretty bad so far this season across both competitions. Honestly, if we don't get 12 points for that, I'm going to be really upset. That's just me, though.
Yeah.
That should be a very easy 12 points. Okay. Any last thoughts on the men's side before we talk about Femenil?
So one more point that Mark just brought up for us before we switch subjects. What do you guys think about our players going to the Mexican national team, including U20s? So I'll go ahead and knock that one out. I don't know if I can speak for all of us, but usually we don't care too much for the national team. They tend to disappoint us thoroughly, but it is a good opportunity for these players. I know a lot of them kind of have that on their checklist for career goals. And it is an opportunity for some of them to go abroad. I mean, we talked about Marcelo, Tapia potentially with the U23s. So good luck to them, but really we just hope they don't get injured.
Yeah.
And just for context for some of our newer listeners or Tigres fans that are perhaps haven't been Tigres fans too long, like the reason we knock on El Tri so much is because we get so much hate from El Tri community. right? So they they hate our team. They hate our players when they get called up. Uh, Going back to the Chaca Rodriguez era, he got called up so many times, and then he was getting death threats from the fans. So it's a toxic community. It's a toxic fan base, and so that's why we don't get that excited when our players get called up because they treat our players like trash. So I think some of us in here are El Tri fans, but we're not extremely hardcore because of how they treat our team. So a lot of us tend to be more Tigres fans than El Tri fans, and so I think that's why we're not super stoked when they go up and get called up.
Yeah, and also, why would you want to support a product that is genuinely horrible right now,
Yeah,
on all fronts? Like,
dumpster fire.
yeah, especially 2 years before a World Cup on home soil. I know we're only getting 10 games, but it's still a World Cup on home soil. Nah, we don't mess with it. Don't get hurt, anybody, please. Anybody who's going
Yeah,
abroad,
I was
just
gonna
don't
say
get hurt.
that we just hope that our players don't get injured. That's all we hope for.
Yeah, that's literally it. Okay. Um. Oh wow. Sorry, I just got distracted by the fact that the Rangers just beat the Yankees on a walk-off grand slam. That
Nice.
wow. Okay. Well, we've been horrible this year, but that makes me happy, as you can tell by my shirt. Anyways, okay, Amazonas. After their very interesting result on Sunday night as well, we kind of alluded to it already, but you know, not playing great at all, and then Jenny Hermoso doing Jenny Hermoso things. Edgar, break it down for us.
Alrighty, so Las Amazonas. Are they really flying high? Let's break it down. So they're currently in second place of the league table after 2 victories last week, which allowed them to secure 6 more points and remain undefeated. Thursday night, Las Amazonas defeated Necaxa 6-0 with 5 goals from La Maga Valle and a goal from Jenny Hermoso. Sunday, Hermoso appeared again and secured 3 points with a goal in stoppage time against Club Leon, giving Tigres Femenil a 1-0 victory. Now, while these are positive results and the team seems to be on the right track, there's still a big question looming over, and that is Tigres Femenil depending too much on individual talent?
Okay. Um. Yeah. Let's talk about the game first. Okay. Let's talk about Sunday night. Um. Well, actually, should we go back to Thursday first? Probably. Let's talk about Thursday first.
Yes.
6-0 against Necaxa. The Ovalle, you've poked the bear game, because oh my gosh, what got into her? Obviously, we know what got into her. She, you know, all the stuff with Instagram and all that. Lou, you're kind of our chief when it comes to feminine stuff. Like, set the table for us. Like, break it down with Thursday night and what you saw, and I guess the most interesting aspects about the team's performance, and then Ovalle, um, just doing what she did.
Well, I think it's important to kind of start from scratch earlier in the day. So the big alarm that was raised was that she had erased all mention of Tigres in her social media accounts. So there was no photos, no I'm a Tigres player, none of that. So people were like panicking. Is she leaving? Where's she going? And then she shows up. So normally Tigres social media account, the Tigres Femenil social media account, would do a short video of them walking into the stadium, and you kind of see them, getting ready as they walk in. And so she walked in, had this big old smile on her face, kind of like what's the word? Like this smile where it's like, like she's laughing at something, right? Like some kind of joke, like inside joke type of smile. And then she goes into the game and just proceeds to just kill it for a short period of time. It was just like a burst of goals that she delivered. Uh, 4 goals in 11 minutes, which is the fastest I've ever seen anybody score 4 goals. It was just crazy. I haven't seen anything like it. It was kind of a historic moment, and it just shows, how much talent she has. Word on the street was that, apparently Angel City FC, I believe, had reached out and was trying to come to an agreement to have her play for Angel City FC, but the front office said no. you know, apparently they allegedly they lowballed us. So she was kind of upset about that, but it just shows what kind of talent she is, right? Amazing, amazing player. It's one of those players that she's sort of like our Gignac on the femenil side, right? She's just phenomenal. Who knows when we'll have another player like that? So it was special to watch, definitely.
Alfred, what would you like to add to all the festivities?
Well, she sure showed us on the field that she can do whatever she wants. I mean, in the end, it doesn't matter, what she does on her social media account. It doesn't matter what she does in her personal life. It doesn't matter if she has a grudge against the front office for anything or for any reason. All that matters is that when she's on the field, when she puts on her jersey, she gives it her all. And she's a one of a kind, man. I mean, like, what other player? I mean, Lou just said it, probably a record in itself. But, what other player, going through that? We just talked about Brunetta having some type of mental issues where he can't, seem to, find himself. But not this girl. I mean, it doesn't matter what's going on. It doesn't matter how mad she is. It doesn't matter, what are the opinions of her. She's still gonna show up, give her best, and give us an amazing performance.
Edgar, thoughts on non-Ovalle players from Thursday? I know that her goals kind of masked some of the other issues that were happening, especially that first half. So thoughts on that, and also thoughts on the kids in real life now that we got to see them.
Yeah, so I think the Thursday match was definitely better than the Sunday match. I don't know if I'm kind of also overshadowed by the end score line, but I think we had a much better game than against Leon. Leon, I mean, we definitely looked awful. We struggled, and a lot to improve, really, truly, and honestly, from both matches. As far as the kits go, which I'm repping my Amazonas kit right now, the last season one. I'm a fan of the new one. I really need to see it in person, but I do have mixed feelings about it. I do miss the purple, which I thought was going to be their signature color for third kits, and I really would have ran with that. But it's not a bad look to have the green one.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of in the same boat. I have mixed feelings about it. I need to see it. I need to see it with my own eyes, like up close, because the game didn't like sway my opinion either way. It just kind of made it murkier. Lou, Alfred, do y'all side with us or
I don't know if you guys
positive?
I don't know what your guys' broadcast looked like, but from the cable side, man, some of those players they were just blending right into the field. So
Yeah.
it was just crazy. It was a pitch clash.
Yep, it was. I got mine on the way, Dennis. I will let you know. It's supposed to get here today, but apparently DHL is letting me down, so it's gonna get maybe here tomorrow, and then I'll have it, and I'll let you know for sure. But anything that has the Tigres shield on it, I'm happy, man. I don't care. You could put a Dookie on the front, and I'd still buy it as long as it's got the badge. So
And then it would turn into a collector's item 50 years down the line.
of course, bro.
Okay, our other beloved Edgar commenting here. I prefer the green Earth Day kits over the third jersey.
Yeah,
I think I agree.
that kit looks pretty nice, I gotta say.
I think
Yeah.
I agree. That's the best of all the Earth Day ones. That's the one I enjoy the most. Anyway, although the tan one has grown on me a lot. So,
It's the sand one, Dennis. Sand.
tan, schmam, fam. I don't know.
Forest, water, and sand, my friend.
You sounded much older than you are in that moment. I had to say.
It's my PBS moment, old person moment.
With contributions from viewers like you. Thank you. Anyways. Sunday. Like Edgar just mentioned, frustrating. I only caught bits and pieces of it, highlights wise. I didn't get to watch it because I was in the middle of my fantasy football draft. So apologies. Lou, I know you watched it. Give us your thoughts. Give us the rundown about how frustrating Sunday was, um, and give us another Mila rant because I'm sure there's reason for one this week
Oh yeah,
again.
there's a reason in pretty much every week. But we got punched in the mouth, man. I mean, Leon was extremely physical. And when I mean punched in the mouth, I mean literally punched in the mouth. Those players were throwing elbows, they were slide tackling, they were pushing, they were fouling from behind. It was a nasty game, man. And honestly, I don't think our players were up for it. They kind of started to crumble as the game went along. And it doesn't help when Mila doesn't make the correct substitutions. And so, yeah, she made subs, but if a team is playing you that physical, you have to respond with physical players. So you have Ana Diaz, the new Portuguese signing, extremely powerful player. Put her in early. That's a player that's used to playing physical. So you got to bring her in early. You can't wait till the last minute to sub a player like that. Ana Seiza is another one. You have to bring her in early. If Natalia Collin is in the World Cup right now with the U20 squad in Colombia, but that's another player that you would have had to have to brought in because you need to play when they're playing you that physical. You need to fight fire with fire. Same thing with bringing in a player like Nati Villarreal who enjoys, even though she's small, enjoys playing a physical type of game. So we got out muscled definitely. uh, Really disappointing with the refereeing in that match. They should have been playing with 10 pretty early on in that game, which would have changed the game completely. And then later on, there was an elbow to the face that didn't get called. There was just a lot of bad calls in that game. Um, so just disappointing overall. I felt like the team wasn't attacking with purpose. Our wing play wasn't great, and obviously our in-game managing by Mila was terrible as usual. So it didn't help. So there was a lot of that. With it being so physical, it tends to frustrate players mentally. It tends to be a tough game, and I think that's what caused that game to just kind of spin out of control for us. We were never able to get in rhythm, be able to push back, be able to fight back. It just never happened for us the whole game, and it took basically a miracle golazo from Jenny Hermoso at the end of the game to be able to pull it off. Otherwise, it would have ended in a tie.
Yeah, and that kind of helps answer that question that Edgar was saying in the breakdown of are we relying too much on individual talent? I mean, I think the answer is very obvious. Yes,
Yeah,
like feels a
absolutely.
lot like Real Madrid in that regard, where sometimes, you don't play well in the system, you don't play well as a team, and then all of a sudden some magic happens and it just kind of all works out. Um, and obviously I'm not trying to compare um, Real Madrid or and Tigres, but the similarities are there to some degree, even though it's not entirely the same. Albert saying Mila moves Thembi to the right side just to lose her, and after she subs her at minute 68, Ali Gol is really bad. How come she always plays a lot? Um,
Alison
it
Gonzalez has been bad,
it's
really
tough,
bad this
really
season, and I don't
tough.
know how you justify giving her any more minutes. Stephanie Mayor is another one that's been struggling this season and continues to be an automatic starter when you have really good options on the bench.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
thankfully, Jenny has been great ever since she came back, like playing higher up the field, which is where she's supposed to be. She's a striker for crying out loud, not a
yeah.
midfielder, right? So that's been good at least. But yeah, I mean, you can just tell that there's not really a system. Like, there's not really a clear one, at least in my
No
eyes.
system, and you're not putting in your best 11 at all times.
Yeah.
And then you're also not substituting your best players in. You're giving minutes to players that perhaps shouldn't be playing. And
Yeah.
so, that's a managerial issue that we've been having for a while now. This is nothing new, and unfortunately, to me, the only way you fix it is by firing the manager. I mean, it's not something we want to say here on this podcast, but it's something that needs to be done because I just don't see it changing.
Yeah. Edgar, Alfred, with that sort of like concept of relying too much on individual talent, what other commentary do you want to add? to that and how frustrating it is at times because you would like to see the team play better, not just have Sparks kind of mask over everything.
I mean, for me, one of the biggest takeaways was in the highlights or in the recap of Jenny Hermoso's goal from Sunday night. The camera pivots to the bench, and you see like the expression that Mila Martinez has. Yet again, just frustrates me because you see the sigh of relief of "Holy crap, I've been saved yet again." Like
Yeah.
that's the response to the goal. It's like this sigh of relief of, "Oh, okay, we did it. I was saved." No thanks to her, and that's not the first time we've seen that reaction come out of her. How many more are we gonna see like that? And I mean, if it weren't Jenny Hermoso, if it weren't Ovalle, I think maybe Tigres still gets lucky with a Thembi goal, and we come out of that Necaxa game with a 1-0 or a 2-0, a Mari Carmen goal potentially. And without either of those players, though, I genuinely believe we would have lost against Leon.
Yeah, and I think go ahead, Alfred. Sorry, my bad.
No, I just feel like, individuality only takes you so far. I mean, like Edgar is saying, if Ovalle doesn't come out in her night, and we could say that about any other night. We had prior to that a game where it was all Tembi. This game against Leon, it was Jenny Hermoso's goal. If we don't have one of those nights for one of these star players, then it ends up being a struggle. It ends up being a stressful, a disappointing, just performance overall. So it's only going to take us so far. It happened last season where once we get into Liguilla, you're not going to be facing these, teams from the bottom of the table. You're going to be facing the Americas, the Rayadas, the maybe Chivas, the Pachucas, and they're all very well coached. And they all know very well how to play against us, especially in Liguilla. So, we don't want, what's bad for Tigres. Obviously, we want them to be champions. But if they continue playing this way, more than likely we'll see the same result that we had last season. And same thing goes for the men's team. I mean, if we don't see Paunovic, reflect his style in the team, individualities are only going to get us so far.
Yeah, before you go, Lou, just real quick on that point. The thing that's really frustrating is that you need the league games to like try to find some sort of consistent rhythm, some sort of consistent system, because you can't have the chance to bail out, or you won't have the chance to bail out, to get bailed out by Ovalle and Jenny, for example, in CONCACAF, especially in those tougher games. Like, it's just going to be hard. Like, you can't expect that to happen against New York, right? Like, you got to play as a team because that's going to be a really hard game. And obviously, I know we're not expecting much out of that, but just realistically speaking, in those higher stakes games, like, that's not going to get you anywhere, like you're just mentioning. So, Lou, I don't know what you're going to say from a few minutes ago, but
Yeah, I just feel like one thing that we need to work on is the mental aspect. I feel like teams have figured out that if they can frustrate us either by being too physical or because the ref is not calling things our way, that they can get us out of our game and then force us into errors and force us into losing games or tying critical games. It happened in the America game last season where we fell apart when the ref was just stinking the whole game up and the players mentally got checked out. They were so worried about the ref issue that they forgot we're there to win a game, and then we got whooped by America. And so, Alfred said we're going to face tougher competition in Liguilla, and if teams are watching these games, which they are watching these games, they figure out, hey, mentally these players would check out, then they're going to do that to us. They're going to be more physical. They're going to frustrate us, and they're going to try to wear us down. And so I think mentally we need to start working on our head, making sure that we can fight through adversity, making sure we can grind out games, grind out wins in these situations instead of making excuses and saying, "Oh, well, they beat us up the whole game," or "The ref was terrible the whole game." And that's, that goes back to coaching. We need to make sure that the mental aspect is taken care of.
yeah, I 100% agree. Real quick, they play tomorrow, as we know, against Mazatlan. Does Mazatlan Femenine deserve to be called Mazapan?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So hopefully that's a pretty manageable, easier game. Any predictions, thoughts about that before we go from the vault?
I'm gonna go 4-0 on that one.
All right.
Yeah, we'll go 5-0. They gotta show out.
5-0.
All right. I'll do
Manita.
4. At least 4. Real quick before we go to the ball. Mark mentioned this earlier, and I didn't catch it till just now. I didn't know this. OCL has the same goals and assists in Mexico as Maxi Araujo did in 4,000 minutes less.
Great
Maxi
stat,
Araujo,
man.
and Maxi
Great
Araujo is
stat,
somebody who we thought that would be a great fit for us.
The only thing I think that differentiates the two is that Maxi Araujo is less injury prone than Ozzy. I think that's the
That is
only thing
true.
we can really fault Ozzy for is that he tends to get injured a lot, and so he misses 2 or 3 games here and then kind of loses his rhythm. But other than that, I mean, I think we've all been happy with his performance.
Yeah. And now Araujo's not even in Mexico, like playing in Portugal, which is kind of wild how all that worked out.
Ociel is one of the other players that I believe has a big opportunity to make the jump to Europe. Like if he consolidates himself, he's got the talent.
Yeah. And the versatility that he brings to be able to
Yeah.
play out on the wing, to play centrally as a striker or as a 10 sometimes. That's really
Scoring threat.
valuable. Yeah. He's a good clinical finisher too. Gets a lot of pace on his shots, a lot of power. So
Great header. He's great in the
Yeah.
air.
Yeah, and I feel like defensively his work rate has gotten better ever since he joined us last year.
Just needs to stay healthy and quit flopping. That's, I think, the only 2 things I can say.
I agree. Sounds like you would say the same thing for Linus too. Quit
Yeah.
flopping and don't get hurt.
Yeah.
All right, Edgar, lead us through from the vault moments before we wrap this thing up.
Alrighty, from the vault moments, I'll start with my favorite one. Earlier this last week, Tigres published a photograph from Sebastián Córdoba in practice, completing a header, and it was almost an exact replica of another famous header that he completed against Rayados. Little jab there at the other team of the city.
It makes you think that maybe the CM is Guignac, always taking jabs at Rayados, man.
You love to see it, especially since
Luis Quiñones cross, if I remember that correctly, too.
Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe his last good thing.
Now
he
that
ever
he's
did
gone,
here.
I'm gonna just be nothing but praise for him.
Now that he's gone, I've seen so many key Quiñones moments, and makes you wonder. If
I'll say
they're all
this,
from,
I'll
like,
say
2
this
years
about
ago.
Quiñones, bro. I'll never forget the game against Palmeiras, dude.
True.
He was
True.
phenomenal that game, bro.
We
That's
actually
the
thought
one-
that he was gonna go to Europe after that game, like somebody was gonna snatch him.
Like he killed Gabriel Menino, and who was the other one? Marcos Rocha, the right back. Man, he destroyed them. He was so good.
Yeah, absolutely. Edgar, what else you got?
All right, and we're also remembering another famous Gorriarán goal. Gorriarán goal versus Pumas was actually the same or very similar to the Edu Vargas goal against Pumas. I don't recall which match that was. I mean, I remember the goal, but I don't remember what season was that.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Apertura 2017, maybe.
Probably, but yeah, it was just very similar. I mean, we saw some people,
Oh, is
bring
that
back.
one during the day?
Yeah, and
Okay,
Nahuel
yeah.
had the mustache. I believe Nahuel had the mustache going that season.
That and is that the game that Delort scored too? Or am I
No,
tripping?
that was a different one.
That was a different one because he scored at
Yeah,
Pumas, right?
the Lord, I want to say was 2016 Apertura, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
that's right. Yep, that's right.
I
It was
saw that one
2016.
too. It was a game where Delort and Chucho scored, and I think Well, Celarayan scored
Yeah,
against Puma. Yeah, but it
Luquitas.
was I didn't put it as from the ball because it was from October. It was an October game, but yeah, we saw that too.
Yeah.
That last one right there, I wrote it down. I'm gonna question you guys, see if you guys can remember. So back in August 31st, 2008, Tigres wins 3-1 against America. Lucas Lobos has a brace. Can you guess who scored the third goal? 2008 Tigres.
Oof.
I don't even know.
That was an
It-
away game, wasn't
it-
it?
Was it like
It was
a
at El
good?
Azteca.
Was it a good player at least?
No, it's one of those players that we
Bro.
probably regret to have.
Oh, bro, don't tell me it was Keen, bro.
No, it wasn't.
Okay, good. Jeez, that'd be
Could have
horrible.
been though.
Not remember who scored that.
No, I can't.
It was Blas Perez.
Oh my
Blas Perez.
gosh! Ah, wow. FC Dallas legend, Blas Perez. Gee whiz.
What
I
a
don't know
flop
that
that guy
at all.
was
Yeah.
for us.
Whoop. Yeah. Everywhere else he was totally fine, but for us, tough scenes. Anything else from the vault that is not on the list that you guys want to bring up? Nope, all good. Okay. Anything else just at all before we get out of here? Final thoughts?
Well, we have a long week without Tigres, man. It's gonna be sad.
Yeah. Feminines games are spaced out really weirdly too, like tomorrow night and then not till Monday.
Yep.
It's kind of tough. So I don't know. I don't know what we can really talk about.
Earlier, I said that we don't support El Tri, but we do support El Tri Femenil.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Amen. Amen.
shout out to the under 20s that are in Colombia right now playing the World Cup. Natalia Colin is out there, and
She had an
Lifetime
assist, right?
Tigre- Yeah,
Mhm.
Lifetime Tigre is out there. Maria Angela Medina too as a backup goalkeeper. So we got a couple people representing us out there.
And Tatiana Flores making the last minute cut onto that list as well.
Yep. I was gonna say that. Yep. Very last minute. Yeah, shout out to them. Hopefully they do well. I haven't been keeping up, to be honest. So
They won
what's been going
2-0
on?
today, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
2-0. So they beat Australia, and then that pretty much guaranteed them a pass to the next round because they tied
Sweet.
the first game. So they
Sweet.
should be good. They should be good to go.
Awesome. I hope they continue to do well. All right. Well, hey, look at us. Just a little bit before an hour and a half. I think that's a W. Everybody who's tuned in, watching, whether you've been on Twitter/X, I do not like calling it X, so I'm calling it Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for commenting. Actually, we just got a couple more comments. Oh, here we go. Sorry. Edgar saying Q destroyed all of Palmeiras. Yeah, wasn't just those two defenders, and then yeah, talking about the Lord bit. Yeah, makes sense. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for supporting us and watching us and sharing this with everybody. If you're looking forward to the audio only, that will come out hopefully soon. I don't know those Spotify for podcasters login. So I don't know when that will actually come out, but hopefully it comes out soon. We should be back hopefully next week. Maybe our fearless leader will be back with some stories about Serbia for us.
Oh yeah, he's doing poll questions in Serbia to see how many people know Pauno. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's a funny bit. So that'll be cool to hear the results of that poll next time we get together. But y'all stick with us as we continue to talk about our team and commentate about them, and support them in the many ways that we do. Don't forget to follow all of us on socials. If you're watching right now, you can look at our handles on the screen. But if you're just listening, follow Lou at Tigres_English. Follow Alfred at Tigres Takes. Follow Edgar at Double L Nation. Follow this beautiful pod, Lau Times, at Lau Times on X, Twitter, and then there's a different variation of it on Instagram with I think underscores or periods. I can't remember. I'm going to
And
throw it up on
TikTok
the
now
screen.
too.
And TikTok, and of course YouTube as well. It goes a long way into helping other Tigres fans like you, know about the team and know about our content. So that's it for us tonight. Thanks for being here. Arriba la U, fellas. Appreciate y'all. Hopefully I don't get fired after this kind of mid hosting performance. So
Nah,
see
nah,
you
you
later.
did good, Dennis.
Arnoldo, we want you back.
Please take this mic away from me. Bye bye.
Peace.